Hello, everyone, and welcome. What is this? This is customizing SharePoint and Microsoft Teams using SharePoint Framework web parts. How many of you have been doing SharePoint web parts already? Yeah, a few. This is an entry-level session, so all right, let's go. My name is Olli Jääskeläinen. I'm a Microsoft MVP, Microsoft Certified Master for SharePoint, and Microsoft Certified Trainer. And I work for a partner company called Sulava. We're located in Finland. There is about 80 of us highly skilled professionals, including 4 MVPs. I also am an organizer for Office 365 and SharePoint User Group Finland. I highly recommend that you will find out, if you haven't already, you will find out where your local user group meetings are held, attend to those meetings, listen to a few presentations, and have a chat with other participants. That's highly valuable. So, first question is, why should we do SharePoint Framework web parts? And the answer is pretty simple, actually, or it's pretty straight, because it's the most powerful way we can use to customize SharePoint Online and SharePoint on-prem as well, using these web parts and other extensions available there. And now, as it was announced, these web parts in future will be available for use also in Microsoft Teams as tabs. I have a demo about that one. So let's get down to the demo section now. So for those of you who have never made a SharePoint Framework web part, this is how you start. You open a command prompt. You do md hello expo theater 6 cd hello expo theater 6 and type in yo at Microsoft SharePoint. It will open a human generator which will create your code. Doing 1, 2. All right, human is there. What's the name of the solution? Let's pick that one. Which kind of solution are you doing here? 2 options, SharePoint Online only, this is the latest version, or SharePoint 2016 and onward, so that you also can use those web parts in on-premise solutions. Which folder do you use? And few other questions. Will this web part be available tenant-wide or not? And is it the web part or is it the extension? Now we are talking only about web parts. And what's the name of the web part and so on. And description. And which framework would you like to use? This is not you can also select the framework later on, but these are the options here. For example, no JavaScript framework or React or Knockout. And it will start the creation. I will stop it now and swap to another screen, because that will take like 3 minutes, depending on your internet connection speed. So now here the solution has already been created. I can actually show you the code. It has some files there. I can show the code using, it's this one. So I'm using Visual Studio Code, and it has a section there called Source Web Parts. And basically, here is sort of like the main code which is rendered into the page. This .dom element.inner HTML is this HTML JavaScript, or TypeScript to be exact. So let's go back here. And what I will do, I will type in gulp serve. So immediately after you have generated the web part, you can launch it. And you don't need to have that big SharePoint machine, big laptop with 32 gigabits of mem. It's just fine with your regular laptop. So I have a workbench, and it's running on localhost now, as you can see here. So it's running locally. I can add that web part there, and it basically works. It's the hello world kind of web part, so it doesn't do anything fancy. All right. What I can also do at this point, while it's running on my laptop, as long as the gulp serve is serving the content there, what I can do is that I can open using whatever SharePoint site I have, I can open this page which is called workbench.aspx, located under this layouts folder. Should be, oops. Hopefully it won't burn, since I sort of like messed with this one. Let's do it again. So here is this is in SharePoint context now, so I can add the web part here as well. But of course it has all the web parts that are available in SharePoint as well. But I can find Hello Export Theater 6 from there. So it's up and running there. Let's go back now to the code and do just a tiny modification. What I will do here is that I will add some HTML and okay. You have intelligence, context, page context, user, display name. Then I hit save, and now you can see that it's automatically like compiling it again. So if I go back to this page, which is the local workbench, I can reload the page, and it will say that I'm user 1. My display name is user 1 because it's mockup data. If I go here in the actual workbench and reload that, it's now my name there because that's my display name. All right. So let's move on. I will show now sort of like ready-made web part, which is available, open source web part of the PNP initiative. So here is two SharePoint Framework web parts, actually. I have already placed them into the page, so I can type something like, let's do pptx to pptx. And I have some search results there, as you can see. If I edit the page, you will see that these are two web parts. This is a search box web part. This is not part of SharePoint. This is not what Microsoft did. This is what the community has done. But this is a search box web part and the search results web part. And if I go to the properties of search result web part, you can see that I have all sorts of things like source is search box. It could also be a query string parameter. And I have a query template. I can insert another query words here into the template. And then there is things like selected properties and refiners and whatever you want to use. And it even has, you can choose the layout, and you can even modify the layout. So this is just like, it is possible for you to change how this web part actually looks simply by modifying the properties. And why I did show you this is the reason is that this is made using SharePoint Framework. it's available for you, and the source code is also available for you. If you want to change anything in it, it's fully possible. If you want to contribute, make it better, it's fully possible again. So actually the source code for this one is here. As you can see, there are search box and search results as web parts, and it has other controls, and the search box has its own render method. This one is built on top of React, which is a wonderful way to sort of like build a solution based on model. So let's go forward and see the new magic next. So this is one of the tenants. It's not my own tenant. This is one of the Microsoft demo tenants they have been using this week. And what I have here is a SharePoint Framework web part, which I'm going to add to the page. So I will edit this page. This is a business development page for opportunities. And what I will do, I will add a SharePoint Framework web part, which is called leads. All right. As you can see, it's a pretty nice looking web part. So this is much more than what you could do with, let's say, Power Apps. You could put Power App web part there, but it would be very, very difficult to do anything like this using the Power App. The UI is so much more powerful with HTML and JavaScript and TypeScript and things like that. It has properties. For example, there is a possibility to filter based on region. It has a connection validation. I can test the connection, and it says that connection is OK. All right, this is the SharePoint part of the SharePoint Framework web part. But the magic happens here. This is a Teams site. This is Business Development Opportunities Teams site. And there had already been added a SharePoint Framework web part called Leads as a tab to Microsoft Teams. So when the tab will open, we will see the same web part in Teams. Or I will do a refresh here first. And it will show itself in any moment. Oh, took it time. This is like, this is not real code yet, so, but I'm happy it's there. And it has the, well, it's basically the same web part. It has a different context here because it's in Teams context instead of being in SharePoint context. But everything else works the same. So if you, let's say you make a RESTful call to Graph API, fetch some data there, it works the same. So, and it's, I talked about this with Vesa Juvonen, and he said that what they aim for is that you don't really need to worry about if you are building the web part for Teams or to SharePoint. It will just work there. Okay? So, for example, this settings section, this is going to take some time too, but we are seeing the SharePoint Framework web part properties there. So you have the region, and then there was this connection validation, test connection, connection OK. So I think this is pretty fine. It will make your SharePoint Framework development so much more useful because you can do Teams tabs at the same time. I will quickly show I will quickly show the code, even though Vesa mentioned that I shouldn't probably be showing this, because this part of the code is something that is likely to be different when this is in production or preview. But basically what I have here is that I have both SharePoint things and Teams tab things here. So this part is a Teams manifest. The two icons, the Teams tabs, have the zip file and manifest. All right. All right. So, how do you get started? I have 2 slides, and you will get the slides later on, but I have 2 slides of links here. So you have a link to build your first SharePoint Framework web part. I will show that page to you and all of these pages to you in a minute. SharePoint Dev documentation, SharePoint Dev videos, which is a YouTube channel. So many pictures. Okay, I will move forward. And then there is the community. There is a link to the SharePoint Dev community, SharePoint Framework special interest group community call, which is a bi-weekly call. If you open that link, it will download a meeting invite for you. You can join the call. There is SharePoint Dev issues and SharePoint User Voice. I will quickly show these as well. So let's. So this is the build your first SharePoint client-side web part page. And if you look at this, it's like it cannot be made any simpler. You have the video where it's presented, but you can also just go through this step by step, create the directory, go to the directory, type in yo Microsoft SharePoint, and so on. You cannot really go wrong. These resources are very good. Then you have the general SharePoint development resources. Under it is SharePoint Framework. Inside SharePoint Framework, you will find getting started, how to build your web parts, how to build your extensions. Extensions are like header and footer sections. Web parts are what you put in the page. Then you have connecting to APIs, which means that you can connect to Graph API or SharePoint APIs. And all debugging. How do you debug this solution? It's fully possible. And how to do it. This is the YouTube channel. There is 2 kind of videos on top here. There are SharePoint Dev weekly videos, relatively short, about half an hour long, and then the PNP webcasts, which are this special interest group community calls. They are also available here. Then you have community resources. So community resources, it's mainly like GitHub projects that you can use or you can participate on. There is a contributing guidelines, you can submit issues and so on. So if I show one of them, this is the web part we saw in my search demo. This is the search web part. And you can see, thank you Frank and Michael for doing this. This helped a lot in one of my projects because we needed a modern search experience, and we were like, we wouldn't like to code it because it's sort of like out of the budget. And then we found this, and wow, in few hours it works. That's very nice. And version history and so on. This is the issues list. If you have problems with your web parts, if the framework doesn't work, you put the information here, and they will fix it. And then there is the user voice SharePoint Dev platform. So if you want Microsoft to make changes to this platform, this is the place where you express your opinion. For example, there is add manage metadata term store operations to REST API. All right, which is highly popular. All right, let's get back. So, in conclusion, it is the most powerful way to build web parts on top of SharePoint, and now you can, in future, I think it's in 1.7 version of SharePoint Framework, when we will be able to use them as Teams tabs. So there are excellent free resources available. It's not hard to start doing this. If you know how to do JavaScript, you are pretty much there already. All right. If you have any questions, I will be here. Please rate the session. Thank you very much.